For early access to more videos like this, plus exclusive content, community discussions, and more, become a patron at patreon.com/BrucePoinsett. What's going on, world? It's Bruce, and this is day 6 of Oregon Kwanzaa Stories, a 7-part mini storytelling series based on the principles of Kwanzaa. Why are we doing this? Because we want to give some respect to Kwanzaa. It's we put all this legitimacy on Christmas and other commercial holidays, but especially during this time of pandemic, economic downturn, and racial justice uprisings, I think this is the perfect time to really find and extract the value that Kwanzaa can bring as a holiday. So today we're talking about Kuumba, or creativity. I encourage you to watch past episodes if you like a little short history lesson on Kwanzaa. Watch the first video, Umoja, which is unity. But today is Kuumba. And I remind you, if you have your own creativity stories, drop them in the comments and make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all the good YouTube stuff so we can continue to grow this page and grow this community. So let's define Kuumba. Creativity, or God, Google just hits you at the top of the page. Karenga defines this principle as to do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. So for me, that takes me to the Respond to Racism storytelling project, which is a project that I started in 2018. And the idea was to interview different people, specifically people of color in the community, about their experiences as well as the work they're doing in racial justice organizing and just empowerment in general, because we often don't get to hear these stories. So that originally took a number of forms. It wasn't Some of it was videos like these, but then you also had, you know, you had things like just talking about housing covenants and using an actual example, or, taking screenshots from next door and just, let's just look at it here just briefly because we had some special ones of, what happens when a Black person comes into the neighborhood and how people react. So, you can check that out for yourself. But the idea was, again, to show the realities of both racism in the community, but also just in general, stories about race and our experiences, not from a place of just speaking to satisfy white supremacy, but speaking in a place to empower ourselves. The one thing I will say though about, the videos early on and really throughout the process is just wasn't working with all the equipment, a little less experience. So there is some, they weren't the greatest. Just, there's some good content if you dig and listen hard, but the production left much to be desired. And just be very honest. But at the same time, there was a hope, a small hope, that the whole field of dreams thing, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, someone will look and say, this is not it, but maybe we can take it somewhere else, or maybe we can do something with this. And sure enough, we lucked out. There's a student named Maya Gordon who recently graduated from Lake Ridge, who had the opportunity to do a documentary project on racism in Lake Oswego. And she chose to call it the town's, no nickname, Lake No Negro. But she had been coming to our meetings. She wanted to, volunteer, and was interested, initially interested in the storytelling project. It didn't, again, it didn't go so many places, but when she had the opportunity to do it, you know, something for her own studies and for her work, then, she chose to reach out about doing this documentary. And, it came out beautifully. You can check it out on YouTube. Just Google Lake No Negro. And it was, again, the production that, when I look back on some of my stuff, I'm like, man, maybe I shouldn't have put that out. Maybe I should have taken some more time. But then you look at this thing where it's well done, it and it actually incorporates a lot of these clips and stuff and pieces from the storytelling project, because there's only but so much primary source documentation that you can find and use in LO. But nonetheless, like, Maya basically took this, you know all these raw materials that we had been contributing over the years in one form or another, whether it's the news stories from that have just made the years about LO's racism over you know decades, whether it's stuff that either I shot or was a part of at the storytelling project. It was just interviews with different personalities, and weaved it into together into something beautiful and something powerful. And we were able to screen it at Respond to Racism meeting, and people, it got this great reception. And it's on that path now where projects like this are able to take on a life of their own, and people are screening them, and people are talking about it. And normally, this would be the happy ending portion of this story, right? Unfortunately, it's not, at least not yet. So whereas when the documentary first came out, it got a lot of great reception, from the city, from the school district, from administrators, city councilors, the mayor, or maybe not the mayor, but city councilors, other influential figures. But there's this thing that happens as time goes by where people love to talk about the justice work. They love to piggyback on it. They love to use pictures of people protesting the summer. But when you get behind the scenes, not so much. And this video, unfortunately, is no different. From the rumblings and checking in with people, what you find out is that a lot of people aren't very comfortable with the idea of, even though it's a free resource and people say they want more education about racism in LO, and this is again a free resource that provides that, you have a lot of pushback behind the scenes from some people you might expect, from some people you very well might not expect, who've said, we can't use this. We can't use this in the city. We can't use this in the school district. We can't play it during orientation. We can't, play it for trainings, because we're trying to move past that. We're trying to move past the nickname. And it sounds silly when there is, epidemic racism to say the biggest issue is that the nickname makes us uncomfortable and this history makes us uncomfortable. And yet that's where we are right now. And thus we're called upon, Maya did her part with her creativity and created a tool that we can all use and that could help push this community forward. But now it's on us. How are we going to be creative in making sure that we follow through with it? We have to press these people. We have to press these institutions. We can't just let them give lip service and then just wait out the clock and hope everyone forgets, because that's the game. It's always been the game. And until they're challenged and are forced to do otherwise, it's what they're going to continue to do. So look here. This is the Lake Oswego School Board page, and I'm on this specifically, and I want to highlight this domain up here because it's very important. And the page, I've often heard people find it hard to navigate if they're just browsing. So find this page. You can testify at school board meetings. Look at past meetings. Either send in a written testimony or, prepare some remarks for a meeting, but tell them you want the Lake No Negro documentary incorporated into actual programming, mandatory programming. Same thing with LO City Council. They have a DEI task force. They say this work is important to them. Then make sure they're actually using the work that tells the truth about this community from people from the community. It seems like a layup, it seems simple, and yet the same way people are using creativity, to make projects like this. Unfortunately, many in positions of power in this city are being very creative in suppressing it. So we have to press them. We cannot just let people continue. It is let me put it this way. We're helping people crush, you know, these voices of people who are willing to speak when we allow them to continue to pay lip service out front, get pats on the back for paying that lip service, and then doing nothing when it's time to act. So again, testify at the school board, testify at the city council, write a letter to the editor at the LO Review saying, we want to see this documentary. Host screenings yourselves with your communities. Ask questions of why everyone doesn't know this. Ask why people in positions of power don't think it's important that everyone knows this. But again, don't just let this die. And with that, we'll conclude today's very uplifting creativity story. And I will catch you on the next video. Happy Kwanzaa.